One of the top 3 hunter training institutions is Valhalla. It's so popular that every year countless hunters apply to carry the name of Valhalla on their backs. However, only 1 in every 500 applicants gets admitted to the institution. Now even 150 students graduate with the name of Valhalla. The competition starts on the very first day. Then inside scene of Valhalla is shown where different cubicles are made, and inside each cubicle, a pair of hunters are having a face-off with each other. Valhalla's highest-ranking compact instructor named Lee Sang-cheol watches the hunters practice from the top aisle. He exclaims that there are a lot of hunter applicants to Valhalla this time. Then the successor of the Yushin family, Yoo Min-jun, stands aside Sang-cheol, and the latter tells him that there are a lot of applicants in the selection process this time. Sang-cheol then asks him whether he's here to see his niece. Yoo Min-jun affirms and says that there are a lot of expectations from Soyeon. Yoo Soyeon is a genius born to the Yoshin family, which is one of Korea's top 5 families. She was able to wield mana comparable to that of a high schooler at the age of 10. She was able to add mana to her sword at the age of 13. At the age of 16, she competed against the members of the Yushin family and she came out on top. Sang-cheol describes Soyeon from her personal data sheet. Min-jun reveals that it is said that she was able to communicate with the Yushin family's guardian constellation. Sang-cheol finds it unbelievable. However, Min-jun says that's why a lot is expected from Soyeon. The reason why Korea had 5 top families is that each family has one guardian constellation associated with it. Normally, a hunter receives a blessing or forms a contract with the guardian constellation. However, the guardian constellations of the 5 top families are different from other constellations. The Yushin family's Sword God, the Jangsun family's Spear Saint, the Choijin family's Tao King, the Osun family's Fist King, and the Dajun family's Bow God. The members of the families receive blessings from their respective constellations and were granted more talent and abilities than others. However, Sang-cheol comments that there is a huge difference between receiving a blessing and communicating directly. Communicating with a guardian god is like forming a contract with them. Then Min-jun asks Sang-cheol about his niece, to which Sang-cheol replies that Soyeon will start presumably in 30 seconds. Min-jun requests the latter to let him observe, and with much pleading, Sang-cheol agrees to show him the screen, where it is shown that 17-year-old Soyeon is about to combat 17-year-old Kim Joo-hyuk. Sang-cheol observes that they both seem calm. Min-jun comments that it seems that Kim Joo knows Soyeon and wants to give up, as her ability is well known. However, Sang-cheol says that it seems that Kim Joo doesn't have any fighting spirit at all. Soon Soyeon comes forward, swishing her sword expertly, which makes Sang-cheol admire her refined sword capability and fine mana. However, as soon as she ambushes Kim Joo, he swipes her away with one blow, and off Soyeon falls to the ground unconscious, and everyone is surprised. Kim Joo is declared the winner. Kim Joo ponders why everyone in that era is so weak. He wonders if it's 300 years in the future. Then a flashback is shown and the scene shifts to the era 300 years ago. In the Tower of Destruction, the god of destruction called Barch severely injures the martial god, Kim Hyun-oh. But Kim Hyun gives Barch a final blow and defeats him, stopping the destruction of the world. Since Barch is the boss of the Tower of Destruction, when Kim Hyun defeats him, the tower begins to come down. Just when Kim Hyun is about to go with the tower, he ponders that he has lived busy working as a hunter ever since he was a child. Just when he gained some recognition and earned some money, his time has come. Should he have brought his disciples all along? Kim Hyun questions himself. He then talks about somebody's unmatchable strength and says that even if his disciples did come, they would have died a dog's death. Soon rubble falls over his head and kills Kim Hyun. 300 years after, Kim Hyun-oh reincarnates as a 17-year-old boy named Kim Joo. Either way, he's quite content in being reborn. Although Kim Joo's body is young and weak, his knowledge from when he was known as the martial god is still intact. If only he could adjust to this body, he believed he would be able to live a life of leisure and luxury. However, a transparent window appears in front of him and shatters all his dreams. It states that in 5 years, a tower of destruction will appear, so Kim Joo must prepare. Kim Joo curses and abuses Barch and says that he should have thrown the ladder in the lava. However, he vows that once Barch appears, he would kill him for good and enjoy a luxurious life. Soon a message appears in front of him, ordering him to reclaim his weapons and memories, in the 3rd floor's 5th room to the right of Valhalla. Kim Joo then searches to find the place called Valhalla. On the 4th day of the top 10 competition, Kim Joo has a face-off with the Osun family's eldest son Seok. Sang-cheol thinks that there are more spectators than expected, as the future of all the 5 top families is present there. Seok considers Kim Joo a weakling and thinks that beating the latter would do great for his image. Soon the match begins. Although Seok isn't competitive in literature, strategy, or martial arts, however, his plus point is his amazing physique. He was able to do what others were not able to do without mana, and with a little training, his strength grew exponentially. For that reason, he was called a genius as he didn't require effort at all. When Kim Ju calls him a retard, Se-hyuk gets mad with fury and storms at him, calling him a piece of trash. However, Kim Ju thinks that with the body he's reborn with, he won't be able to physically fight off Se-hyuk. However, Kim Ju has the technique of martial arts to dodge his opponent's strength and then uses his leg to trip Se-hyuk and disbalance him. Se-hyuk falls to the ground with a thud when Kim strikes a powerful blow to him, making Kim Ju thinks that he has the ability to observe his opponent. Kim Ju is declared the winner and he thinks that although his body is weaker than before, he won't be having any trouble hunting monsters. Kim Ju walks away. However, the staff of Valhalla is really surprised by Se-hyuk's defeat, with one member saying that how come the latter couldn't stand the simple move. However, the head of the Osun family, Oh Chulshin, ponders that the fools think that Kim Ju's move was a simple attack because even if his son didn't bother learning martial arts and only cared about his physique, he would easily dodge a fist from any of his peers. This was because Se-hyuk's anger got the better of him and he went after Kim Ju without thinking and used the magic he ever used in order to end the fight quickly. But Kim Ju tilted his head in order to dodge the attack since he thought that Kim Ju would have definitely been hit, so he shifted his center of gravity all the way. Seeking the opportunity, Kim Ju made his move swiftly, showing that he moved faster than Se-hyuk's max speed. This was all part of a plan of the great mastermind Kim Ju, since the moment Se-hyuk went in. Oh Chulshin vows to bring Kim Ju to their Osun family at any cost. On the day of the ranking match finals, Kim Ju has a face-off with the Choi Jin family's second daughter named Choi Arin. The boys go gaga when they see Arin appearing, to the irritation of Kim Ju. Arin takes a position but she refrains to attack first. Kim Ju ponders that at least she tries to grab the situation beforehand. Arin is better than the rest. When Kim Ju charges toward Arin, the latter grabs her sword tightly and bouts of light come out of her weapon, making others wonder whether Arin has mastered the element of change of ability of the Choijin family at such a young age. As Kim Ju comes closer, Arin tries to distract him with her beautiful eyes and then attacks him with her sword. However, Kim Ju is too quick for her and dodges expertly. When Kim Ju attacks her, Arin dodges that attack with her sword and Kim felt that he wasn't attacking a body. Kim then makes her sword heavier for her to carry and then again makes an attack with his fist. Arin is unable to dodge his attack this time and falls to the ground. Kim Ju enjoys victory again. Kim Ju is ranked at the top of the admission list at Valhalla. As soon as Kim Ju comes out of the institute, he's surrounded by reporters asking him to tell his story. Some also want Kim to join their guilds. Kim Ju is so agitated by the mob attack that he gives them all a shut-up call. Because of Kim Ju's behavior towards the guilds, he's in news for his erratic behavior and many consider him a psychopath for turning down the guilds who were offering him great money and benefits. People pass comments on him having no class and having such a temperamental nature, because even if he's immensely talented, he has no backup to ruin relationships like that. Soon Kim Ju's first day at Valhalla arrives and he joins it as a freshman. The teacher narrates the history of Valhalla Institute and Kim is thoroughly bored. Suddenly, he finds himself being watched. When Kim Ju turns in that direction, a student who has been watching him keenly turns away his head. Basically, Kim is here just to reclaim his memories and weapons at Valhalla's Constellation Room, so all he has to do is enter and then leave. After the entrance ceremony is over, classes begin. And in the class of Virtual Combat Simulation Room, the instructor Kim Lee-gun is not very happy about the class distribution, because, in the front, Yushin's family Soyeon is sitting while Arin of Choijin family is sitting next to her, while Se-hyuk of the Osun family is in the middle. Now instructor Lee-gun knows that classes are made randomly, but how come 3 geniuses out of 5 are in his class? And then he's about to faint when he sees Kim Ju sitting in the very last. Lee-gun says that he's doomed. However, he calms himself and says that in situations like these, he needs to be very strong from the very start. The instructor introduces himself to the class and then clicks a button. Suddenly, the whole class's scenario changes and it seems that they have arrived at a very different outdoor ambience. Soon, the teacher summons hundreds of orcs and goblins that are about to attack the whole class. However, the teacher encloses his students in a barrier-like shield and the orcs are unable to attack them. The teacher then calls Kim Ju and asks him whether he can tackle the monsters alone. Kim Ju doesn't answer and goes into thinking mode, which elates the teacher as the latter feels that this would lower his ego level of Kim Ju. Lee-gun feels that the students might have heard about the monsters in books or movies but never in person, so it's natural that Kim Ju is terrified. Lee-gun is waiting for Kim to give up so that he could start the class. However, Kim starts laughing at his face and says that of course he could take care of them on his own. But Kim says that firstly Lee-gun has to offer him a prize because such kinds of tests are never given on the first day. Lee-gun agrees that if Kim handles all the monsters alone then he would do whatever it is under his power. Lee-gun warns him that monsters in such conditions attack in real. However, Kim shrugs him off and demands him to pass him the sword. Lee Goon hands him his own sword and Kim Ju slashes the monsters easily within seconds. As Kim Ju fights expertly with the monsters, he wonders that it has been 300 years since he held a knife, but still he's doing fairly well. He reminisces that back then when the world was full of monsters, humans couldn't progress, so they used any kind of weapons that were available. However, the sword is still a familiar weapon. A sudden attack by an orc brings Kim back to the present. However, he's swift enough to dodge that move. Kim Ju wonders if the monsters are fake because they're following a regular pattern of fighting. Meanwhile, Lee Goon and other students are in awe watching Kim Ju fighting so skillfully. Lee Goon couldn't believe his eyes because all he lent Kim Ju was a plain sword that doesn't contain any magic power or swordsmanship. But how could Kim Ju cut anything so easily? Also, the three geniuses of prominent families feel pangs of jealousy while watching Kim Ju. After finishing off the orcs, Kim Ju coolly announces that he wants to get to the constellation room and he hopes that the teacher keeps his promise. The teacher then calls it a day and asks the students to take some rest in their respective dorms. However, Kim Ju is so bored because he thinks the classes are so mundane and long. He wishes he gets what he was here for and leave. He further says that he never thought he would be teaching students as he never went to school before. Kim Ju feels that although the class was a drag, however, he got some information about constellations. Kim thinks that there was no such thing as a constellation in his time. Constellation is a term referred to the transformation of those who established great fortune into gods. Most of the constellations are involved with hunters as their holy relics and they gave them special powers. The Valhalla is the world's third largest academy with many relics of constellations. Kim Ju finds anything related to swordsmanship and annihilating monsters useless. He must get to the dorm and start practicing martial arts seriously as his body is on the weaker side. Kim's thoughts are interrupted by Arin, who wants to talk to him. Meanwhile, at the school's office, Lee Goon is having a discussion with Sancheol about Kim Ju's abilities, because he feels that he's not a high school student. Lee Goon complains that because of Kim he's gone through embarrassment rather than hardship. Lee Goon made 120 monsters in the virtual combat simulation room and Kim Ju killed all of them in an instant. Even Sancheol is surprised because that's a lot for a high school student who has never seen a monster before. Sancheol adds that there is nothing special about Kim Ju, and from his research, he has found out that the latter is an orphan that comes from an orphanage in a dangerous area. Lee Goon doubts Kim to be a forger. However, Sancheol denies his assumption because how can a forger dare enter Valhalla and create a scene at the entrance examination? Then Lee Goon informs Sancheol about Kim's demand of entering the constellation room. Sancheol agrees to take permission from the headmaster to enter from the basement level, as long as they don't go to the restricted area on the 5th floor. After that, Lee Goon expresses his anxiety about handling three geniuses and a moron Kim Ju the whole year, so for his consolation, Sancheol discusses an exchange student from the Ventric family, named Rockdale Ventric, in another class. He was kicked out for creating trouble at the British Academy. Lee Goon is a little relieved because he thinks his situation is better than the class next door. Meanwhile, Kim Ju asks Arin what she wants to talk about. She requests him to teach her the skill of swordsmanship. However, Kim Ju says that he has no intention of teaching her that. However, Arin keeps on insisting, but Kim Ju behaves rudely with her and tells her to stop clinging to him and leaves immediately with Arin staring behind his back. Back at school, Kim Ju admits that his current body is better than he expected. Martial arts or whatever it was, Kim Ju cannot do anything because he doesn't have any magical powers. Plus, he is unable to control the mana. However, the problem of magical powers could be solved if Kim Ju finds that thing, and for that, he'll prepare some mana for him. Lost in his thoughts, Kim Ju is brought back to the present by Rockdale Ventric, who calls out to him. He is accompanied by his attendant named Yuria. Kim Ju is unable to recognize him, so Rockdale introduces himself. He asks very straightforwardly, Kim Ju, doesn't he want to be very strong? The details of the Ventric family are shown that the Ventric family has a beak mask, which is a guardian of the constellation, and that makes the Ventric family different from others. Normally there is an S-class or higher guardian of the constellation who protects the family, and they directly select the member of the constellation and give them protection and strength. But for the Ventric family, they decided to sign the contract with a non-constellation family member. It was a way for the chosen person to sign a contract with the constellation without disagreement. And because of that unique choice, the Ventric family enjoys strong power in the whole of Europe. If you were a member of the Ventric family, you would be able to select a contractor regardless of your lineage, so the branch family line could have as much power as the main family line. For this reason, Rockdale Ventric has become too arrogant. Not too long ago, because of the commotion at the British Academy, he was kicked out. However, instead of crying over spilled milk, Rokdal decided to move ahead, because he always got what he wanted. So he tries getting Kimju on his side. However, Kimju calls him an idiot to his face. Both have an ugly spat. Suddenly Sangcheol arrives and asks Rokdal to take his seat. Rokdal is enraged. However, the latter reminds him that this is not British Academy, but Valhalla and everyone has to follow instructions over here. Rokdal stops for the time being but promises Kimju that he will approach him again. After the class, Kimju is a little disappointed because he didn't get anything related to the Constellation Room. Plus, the guild members are constantly bugging him to join their guilds despite the ill behavior Kim showed toward them that day. Kimju's thoughts are interrupted by Arin, who repeatedly insists he teaches her swordsmanship. Meanwhile, at the higher class of the dormitory, Rokdal breaks a lamp with his fist in great fury. Rokdal sulks. How dare a measly orphan insult him. He then orders Yuria to call Desira to deal with someone. He calls Yuria, but she doesn't answer him. So Rokdal grabs her by her hair and menacingly asks her does she still think she's the eldest daughter of the palace family. He threatens her that he would throw her out of their family. He then roughly shoves the poor girl towards the ground and orders her to call Desira. He also adds that there is a son of the Rise family in the 2nd grade. Rokdal wants her to tell Ventric that he wants to see him. Meanwhile, Kimju in his own room concentrates on his meditation. However, he still feels that his body is garbage because it lacks the required stamina, and also he couldn't draw out the required magic. Kimju thinks about the last time when he was heading toward his dormitory. When Arin follows him like a lovesick puppy, Kimju is very much irritated by her and behaves with her rudely. She says again and again to teach her swordsmanship. Kimju is greatly annoyed by her and wants her to leave her side, so he proposes that the cost of one lesson is 10 million won. Arin asks for his phone so that she should save her number in it. That's why it would be easier for her to send money online. To Kim's surprise, she sends him 100 million won. Arin asks him hopefully whether he would teach him. However, Kim refrains from helping her and doesn't accept her money. At present, Kimju wonders how a student could acquire 100 million won. He somewhat feels that if he accepted that money he wouldn't have to give away all his secrets, but then Kimju shrugs it off by saying that it was money after all, and money wouldn't help him find that thing which he's looking for. So he prepares to head off in order to find the secret vault. Kimju enters a deep dark forest and thinks that before entering the school, he checked it out in advance, but most of the notes that were hidden 300 years ago were destroyed. According to the research, there should be 4 notes, but it's more than likely that there are just 3 left. Kim has information that the notes are hidden in the mountains of Valhalla. Kimju uses some of his power to find out the location of the notes by sensing the marble that responds to his magic. Soon a bright spot emitting light appears and Kimju finds the place for digging. However, his body is so weak that he's unable to dig even a few centimeters into the ground. Kimju regrets that if he knew about his limitations earlier, he would have buried his notes in a shallower place. However, Kimju was forced to bury his notes because of the Tower of Destruction 300 years ago. At that time the world was on the verge of destruction and there was no room for Kimju's riches, so he made notes and put them here. Kimju hopes that the contents inside are all safe. After digging several hundred feet deeper into the ground, Kimju is successful in obtaining his notes. He finds a huge keyhole in which a regular key wouldn't fit. For that purpose, Kimju creates a string of magic and forms it into a key. He is able to open the flap and again several feet under the ground is buried his gold, and riches all glittering and inviting. Kimju is relieved to find his money so that he doesn't have to worry about and look for that particular thing he's looking for. Suddenly, he finds some storage stones among the gold pieces. In order to maintain the notes, he puts some magic into them, so the day he has to use them has finally come. So he holds one of the storage stones and feels energy flowing inside him overwhelmingly. Kimju is unable to decide how much gold and jewelry he should take back. Soon Kimju is sitting inside the Valhalla Academy and stretches out because he feels really tired after all that digging. He feels that if he really thinks he's going to make a note in the future, he must be insane because all his muscles are aching from that deep digging. Arin pops up and begs him to teach her swordsmanship, making Kimju ponder that she isn't letting go at any cost. However, according to the information he found out when he reincarnated, that among the top 5 families, the Choijin family that includes Arin Choi is probably a family that practices swordsmanship, so she's asking only him persistently as she could learn more from his family. Arin says that she wants to learn only from him because she has never seen anyone wield a blade better than him. Kimju then asks about her father, who's the head of the Choijin family. He must be better than Kimju with the sword. However, Arin Choi denies it. Soon Lee-gun barges in and asks Kimju to follow him to the teacher's room. He adds it's about what Kimju asked him the last time. Lee-gun doesn't want to reveal the constellation room in front of Arin. Excitedly, Kimju follows Lee-gun. Before leaving, he tells Arin to come to the training grounds at 6 AM the next day. Lee-gun tells him that Kiju's access to the constellation room has been approved. He'll just have to go to the basement floor. However, he's not allowed to enter any floor lower than the first. Kim-ju agrees, so Lee-gun advises him to go that night. Lee-gun is relieved that Kim-ju didn't create a fuss about not being allowed to enter the second floor. In fact, he thought that Kim-ju wouldn't accept. Anyways, they plan to go to the Constellation Room that night. The following night, Lee-gun takes him to the Constellation Room, which is considered the treasure of Valhalla. Kim-ju exclaims that the security is tighter than the main gate. Lee-gun says it's because the Constellation Room is very important enough to make Valhalla Academy one of the 3 greatest academies in the world. Kim-ju observes that its exterior walls except the entrance are also covered with all sorts of magic. Kim-ju then asks the forbidden question from the teacher that how one might barge to the second floor, and for that something criminal has to be done. Lee-gun warns him that he could be expelled for that, and worse than that, Kim-ju could lose his mind before even leaving the school, as on the second floor of the Constellation Room, the magic power runs rampant. If one touches that magic, his mind would shatter and becomes a madman. Now Lee-gun is worried about why Kim-ju is asking him about the second floor. It's because he wants to go in. However, he assures himself that the first place entrance student wouldn't dare take a risk. The gate opens and Kim-ju enters. Lee-gun stays outside and calls to him that he has only 30 minutes. Kim assures him that he'll be back soon. An interface appears in front of Kim-ju to reclaim his memories and weapons on the 3rd floor, 5th room of the Valhalla Academy. Kim-ju doesn't care whether he gets expelled or not, as he came to the academy for that in the first place. So he has to go to the 3rd basement floor first. Kim-ju wonders how come to the building has so many stairs. Kim-ju is surprised to find that the Constellation Room was not as great as boasted. It didn't seem that important at all. Kim wonders whether he should go deeper. Soon an interface appears in front of him saying that he has met the requirements and he's being shifted to a room. Soon he goes deeper and deeper and Kim meets his old opponent Barch. But before Barch could say anything, Kim gives him a tight blow angrily and says how happy he is to see him. Kim-ju punches him repeatedly and catches him off guard. Barch keeps on telling him to calm down and stop, but Kim knocks him to the ground. Barch tells him that he ain't the person who would use their fist. However, Kim-ju is angry at Barch for destroying his comfortable future. He thwarts him further with leg kicks. Kim-ju keeps on beating him by saying that Barch robbed him of his riches, honor, and all the time he spent training his disciples. Barch, huffing and puffing, then asks him, didn't he wonder what the place is about? However, Kim-ju replies that there is nothing here. Barch reveals to him that this is an imaginary world. He adds that to be exact, this place is a space in a relic. The Barch that he's seeing is just an embodiment in the imaginary world. His actual body was dead 300 years ago. Kim-ju guesses that Barch has always been in this relic, and Barch affirms. Barch proudly exclaims that he became a constellation. Kim-ju again becomes mad with fury and punches Barch again. Meanwhile, Lee-gun is waiting patiently for Kim-ju outside the building. He's relieved to see Kim-ju coming out of the gates. The security guards check him thoroughly before letting him out. Lee-gun asks him whether he didn't do anything problematic. Kim-ju replies coolly that he was just checking around and couldn't go down further, otherwise he would have lost his mind. Lee-gun believes him and instructs Kim to go home. While Kim's walking, he remembers his chat with Barch earlier. He told him that he doesn't care that Barch became a constellation. All he wants is to know if he was the one who popped the transparent notification window. When Barch denies it, Kim again charges to punch him, but Barch pleads that he's telling the truth after he got killed 300 years ago by Kim-ju. He's inside the relic without any power. Kim insists on knowing who actually sent the notification. Barch reveals that even he got that notification too, to contact the reincarnated Kim-ju and got his memory back. Barch continues that thanks to that a suspicious person emerged and he wonders if it was his work that made him the owner of the Tower of Destruction. Kim repeats that it was that man who sent both of them notifications, but he inquires who is that person. However, Barch couldn't remember because his entire memory of that part is gone. Also, he adds that once the memories are gone they almost never return. Barch then asks Kim-ju about his notification and the latter replies that it stated about reclaiming his memories and weapons. He couldn't read what was below because it was censored by squares. However, Kim-ju doesn't remember losing any memories. He still has the memories from the tower. However, Barch suggests that maybe memories haven't returned to Kim yet since he has found his weapon. Memories will return as well, slowly and gradually. Kim-ju is surprised when did he find the weapon. Barch replies that this space is the inner world of the 4 weapons and village swords that have become the relics. Barch says that he became the constellation because he used the village sword as a relic. At present, Kim-ju is returning home and he wanted to destroy his village sword and leave, but no matter how weak it has become, it's reluctant to leave Barch unattended, who was once called the King of Destruction. Also, the new quest that would be appearing on the notification window is only achievable by the village sword. Lost in his thoughts, Kim's interrupted by a bunch of mobsters. One of them says to Kim that his seniors were away on a vacation, so isn't he going to introduce himself? The person who's bullying Kimju is the Sunrise family's eldest son, Lyric Sunrise. However, Kim mocks him by saying that a bully like him has juniors as well. Lyric is furious upon hearing the crude words. However, he says that if you're in first place in the first year, so it's not enough to say hello to your seniors. However, before he could lecture more, Kiju gives him a hardcore kick and says stop chattering and come to him. Kimju fights his seniors in no time with punches and blows and defeats them easily. Soon a sword appears in his hand and the seniors were certain that they didn't see the weapon earlier with Kim. However, Kim proudly holds the village sword and summons his opponents to come to him. And if they stay still, he would crush their heads off. The scene shifts to 3 hours earlier when Lyric receives a message from Rockdal Ventric to take care of Kimju. In return, Rockdal will greatly reward Lyric, which would greatly reward the Sunrise family. He further instructs that it doesn't matter if Lyric uses any weapons, he's going to clear the mess anyway. Lyric accepts and leaves immediately. Lyric thinks that a first grader is always a first grader no matter what and they couldn't be a second grader's opponent. He feels that it's unavoidable that first graders and second graders are entirely different from each other. It's because of their contract with the constellations. Valhalla students have to go to the constellation room in the second semester of the first year in order to form a contract with a constellation. Students who form the contract become contractors and are called second graders. Once you become a second grader, you could draw out and use your constellation's power. Lyric also feels relieved that Kimju, who doesn't belong to any special family, has no guardian constellation, so it would be easy to beat him. At present, Lyric regrets what he thought about Kimju as he witnesses Kimju roasting his colleagues with his sword. One of the second graders tries to slash Kimju with his own sword. However, Kim swiftly dodges and the guy misses his attack. Kim then attacks him on his face. Lyric couldn't believe his eyes. A mere nothing is being second graders one after another. Lyric ponders that second graders must have higher skills in martial arts or magic before becoming contractors than first graders. Lyric wonders about the strange swordsmanship, as it looks like Kimju is walking with moderate swing force, but the people around him are getting severely injured. Kimju threatens the remaining ones that he'll crush those who would stay still. The remaining are double-minded whether to face Kim or run away. However, Lyric encourages them not to be scared of a mere first grader. Lyric then angrily charges toward him. However, before he could attack, Kimju pushes the end of his sword into his stomach and then swiftly opens his hand and ejects a weapon, and knocks Lyric down in no time. However, Kimju wakes him and helps him get up, and asks him why did he attack him. Lyric makes up that they're just a bunch of seniors bullying a first grader. Kimju is not satisfied by his answer and says that so a bunch of those seniors came while covering up their weapons. To take care of a first grader, this is hard to digest. Kimju insists on who sent them after him. However, Lyric refuses to budge. Kimju mocks him by saying that is this the loyalty of the gangsters? He's full of tears. Kimju is about to leave when Lyric warns him that Kimju cannot go to school like this after this incident, because even if he's a first-place first grader, he would be expelled. However, Kim is least bothered and says that isn't what people will spread. If you tell them the story about this fight that several second graders came up to beat the first graders but were swiped clean, if that story got out, it would be the second graders who will be embarrassed. Kimju smirks and says think wisely if you want to go back to school and join a guild. With that, he coolly walks away. Meanwhile, Rockdal is waiting for the phone call from the second graders with a triumphant smile. However, Lyric calls him and says that he's taking the job off his hands. Rockdal couldn't believe his ears, but Lyric relates to him everything and warns him that stay. Rockdal confronts him that just a while ago, when they were talking, Lyric was so confident. Lyric doesn't talk much and decides to hang up, but Rockdal pleads no. Rockdal then suggests reporting Kim to the administration because of the ruckus he caused and the people he hurt. Rockdal adds that if there are still some visible injuries, doesn't that mean that they have solid evidence against Kimju? Rockdal promises Lyric that if he's able to hand Kimju to the administration, he would still pay him the full amount. Not only that, Rockdal says that he would convince his family to fund Lyric. However, Lyric refuses to accept the offer because even if the Ventric family promises to fund him, he won't be able to recover his lost honor. With that, Lyric hangs up. Rockdal is so mad with the fury that he smashes his phone to the ground. Rockdal then asks Yuri whether she has contacted Disara. Yuri replies that she has informed him that Rockdal wants to meet him in person, but since he's far away, it'll take time for him to reach here. Rockdal irritatedly remarks about Disara's whereabouts. The scene shifts toward the Aripia Academy in Mexico, and a lad who was involved in a fight before receives a message and exclaims that someone wants to meet him in Korea. The lad's name is Disara Ventric. His face is marked with many scars and wounds, depicting him to be an aggressive gangster. Disara reads a message from Rockdal to swiftly come to Korea to take care of a person named Kimju. Rockdal entices him with an already prepared reward, and Disara's eyes begin to shine as there wasn't anyone he could ask money from after being chased out. The next day at 6 a.m., Kimju reaches the training room and is surprised to see its humongous area. He ponders that it is big because the school's size is already big. The training area entices Kimju to take a jog. However, a voice from Barge alarms him and Kimju asks him from where he's speaking. Barge replies that he's currently in the sword that has been sealed. But why Kim is so surprised? Kim replies that he's surprised that why Barge still hasn't been able to escape because then he'll have to beat him up and drag him back there again. However, Barge replies in dismay that it's nothing like that, so Kim needs not worry. Kim replies that in that case, everything is okay. Kim then asks Barge about the sword and whether it's okay, as the sword is currently declared an artifact and is kept in Valhalla. Barge says that there is nothing to be worried about because the original sword is with Kim while Barge replaced it with a replica. However, Kim inquires him when did he learn to make the replicas. Barge replies that we gained consciousness. He had lost all his strengths. However, he knew to make replicas since the very beginning. That he doesn't know from where did he acquire the ability. Soon Arin Choi arrives and Kim tells her that they will start by improving her stamina. He makes her do some stretches and explains that if she improves her stamina, the better she can absorb mana and easily control it. Kim thinks that it's the basis for improvement. However, he feels that the current method of training is weird. They're investing everything into mana before stamina improves. For a reason, even Choi Arin possesses a lot of mana, she only has the stamina of a sword-wielding student. Choi is done with stretching, so Kim says now her real training begins. He makes her do push-ups, then sit-ups, and then makes her exercise with dumbbells. Arin is exhausted after all the rigorous training. However, Kim says that the training has just started. Kim condemns her to get up as she still has 20 kilometers of running, and Arin is about to get a heart attack. The next day, Kiju wonders whether Arin was feeling okay because the previous day they did heavy exercises. Soon instructor Lilia arrives and announces a simple written test. She says that she briefly explained that on the first day, she informed them to self-study a bit on dimensional monsters. So that day she would be testing them on the knowledge of dealing with an individual monster. Soon everyone gets bussed with the test. However, Kim finishes his test on time. The time's over and the test papers are collected. Teacher Lilia says that the test taken today won't be added to their overall score. However, it would be used to measure their ability for the next class. She concludes the session that in the next class, they would start their official lesson in the virtual combat simulation room. Meanwhile, Barch whispers in Kim's ears that is he sure that he could write answers like that. Kim's surprised that Barch has been observing him. The latter affirms and says that since has nothing else to do. Kim says that he wrote the answers the way he knew them. Meanwhile, at the first year's teacher's lounge, instructor Lilia is checking the test papers, and as soon as she reads Kim's paper, she shakes with fury and asks how could he dare call these crap statements for answers. Instructor Lee Goon enters the teacher's lounge carrying a mug of coffee. He sees Lilia checking test papers, so he inquires her whether she's marking his test papers. She affirms and says that she's preparing for the next class's simulated fight. She told the students to study about the monsters. After that, she made them take a simple written test, and as expected from class which has students of popular families, they all did well. Lagoon is relieved and says that he should be going. However, Lillian blurts out Kim's name loudly and says how can he say that the answer is Rapper 1. It was so sudden that poor Lee Goon spurts out the coffee he was drinking. Hesitantly, Lee Goon asks Lillian whether Kim didn't put any effort into the test. The teacher replies that it's not about effort, he's just mocking the class at the moment. A frantic Lee Goon asks whether it's really that bad, and Lillian says that the matter cannot be overlooked. Lillian decides that in the next class, she would show him the paper and teach him thoroughly that monsters cannot be taken care of that easily. A week later, the whole class is at the Valhalla virtual fight simulation room. Lillian says that she has graded and brought back the tests, and most of them did very well. She then calls out Kim Ju's name to come forward. She then throws his test paper to him and says what he has written is totally illegible. He has secured 0 marks, and the teacher asks Kim whether he took the test properly. Kim insists that he did take his test seriously. The teacher then reads the first question, what's the best way to take care of rock goblins? The answer that Kim wrote was to shank it in its stomach. The teacher slaps her forehead. The second question is when you find 8 jungle goblins coming towards you, what steps you would take? Kim reads that starting from the ones that are charging towards one should stab each one by one and send them to hell. However, the teacher finds his answers outrageous and bellows that even if he acted like he studied a bit of strategy, the teacher says that according to Kim, a rock goblin is overcome by shanking. However, a rock goblin's defense is B+. It means that a normal sword aura won't damage it at all. However, according to Kim, using a sword against that type of monster can be intimidating. However, Kim replies coolly that it can be done and it's all over in one huge strike. However, the teacher thinks that even Kim's ego is boundless. The teacher says that since Kim is confident in his answer, so she would provide him with an opportunity. The teacher starts the simulation and gigantic goblins appear around Kim. The teacher challenges Kim that if he kills all the monsters in one go just like he wrote on the test, she would regrade him. Kim on hearing this agrees with the teacher and puts the test paper in front of him. Soon Kim enters a forest-like simulation and meets a giant and ugly goblin. Everybody observes how bravely Kim faces the goblin. The teacher ponders that he has killed 120 goblins summoned before, so she's sure that Kimju's talent is the real deal. But for the rock goblin, he can't take care of it with just any random sword. Soon the battle begins, and the teacher is astonished to see that within seconds Kim has stabbed the sword into the goblin's stomach, and the goblin vanishes, leaving the sword lying on the ground as intact as it was before. Kim triumphantly tells the teacher that this is shanking a goblin in its stomach called. The students of the prominent families wonder how he killed a rock goblin without using any magic with a mere sword. Teacher Lillian asks Kimju how did he do it, because in order to kill a rock goblin with a sword you need to be at least in a rank contractor, so normally it's only logical that you take care of it with a strike. However, Kim says that this shows that his answer is correct. The teacher says that not yet, that was the answer to the first question, now the next question. Before Kim could say anything, he's transported to the next simulation, which is an underground tunnel. Soon he encounters jungle goblins, or as the teacher simplifies, anger management issue goblins. According to teacher Lilia, it's very difficult to handle these creatures. If Kim won't do it properly, the goblin in front of you would use its howling skill, summoning all the other goblins as well. Normally they are overpowered by the help of a magician, however in another case, one could just run away without facing them. The teacher explains that while he could only see 3 goblins currently, but soon 5 other goblins would rush towards him as soon as Kim would make any mistake. The teacher continues that even if he used the sword well, it will be hard. From what she has heard, she understands that his sword speed is very low. But to everyone's surprise, Kimju swiftly stabs the sword through one goblin's head. The second goblin gets stabbed into its forehead, and before the third goblin could howl, he stabs the sword into its mouth. Within microseconds, he finished off the 3 jungle goblins. Kim turns around and informs the teacher that in that case, he got his second question correct as well. Kim and Arin are training vigorously at the training center. While Kim is training with great stamina, Arin quickly gets beat up and lies panting on the ground. Kimju is a little surprised and asks her that didn't she exercise with her clan, because how come she's struggling with this level of exercise. Arin replies that she doesn't normally push herself like this. Kim asks her that how she is going to face the monsters at that level of stamina. Arin reveals that she could just use her magic power by borrowing strength from the constellation members. Kim ponders that this is just what he expected. Rather than training their stamina, they focus on their magic power since they all depend on their constellations. Kim guesses that even if they don't raise their physical ability, it's fine as long as they train well enough to borrow a constellation's power. However, the risk is pretty high, as what if someone is caught in the middle of a labyrinth or dungeon where using magical power is restricted, or what if all of your mana runs out fighting for too long? The constellation members might not even lend their power. Then what will happen? Kimju turns to Arin and asks her whether these stamina building exercises are somewhat meaningful to her. Arin replies that of course they are, because Kimju has promised to teach her swordsmanship only if she would do those exercises. Kim mocks her by saying what kind of answer is that? She's doing them just because Kim has asked her to do them. Arin blushes and then shrugs off. Kim just calls it a day since she has to reach the academy soon. Arin leaves while Kimju has one more set to go. After she leaves, Barch starts communicating with Kim. He asks Kim whether the lady was Arin Choi. Kim affirms, and Barch continues that it seems that she has kept up with Kim's training without any complaint. He then asks Kim whether he has chosen to train her. Kimju replies that it's only that she pestered him too much to her his art of swordsmanship. Barch then inquires whether he has actually shown her his swordsmanship. Kim defends himself and says that he hasn't actually shown her his art, but she might have noticed it when he used it in his class. Barch sarcastically says that how could she notice its strength just like that by observing it. Kim replies that even he found it a little amusing too, so he plans to teach her a little bit of his skill. Soon Kim spots Seok of the Osun family working out vigorously. Soon both of them come face to face. Kim begins the conversation by asking the latter how long he has been training. Seok replies that he has been here ever since. His routine has always been to exercise before attending the academy. He then excuses himself and leaves. Kim thinks about Seok in awe, and he doesn't know if it's because of the martial bone he's born with, but it looks like he's able to train for so long because of his talent. Barch surprisingly asks why Kim is so much interested in that man. Kim replies that he's bound to be smarter than those who only train their magic power. However, Kim thinks that what these constellation members actually do. Barch says that he has no idea because he too is a constellation, but all he did for 300 years was being isolated here. He doesn't know anything about the other constellations. Barch suggests that Kim might be able to learn about them more if he finishes the new quest set in his Systems tab. Soon an interface pops up which has the same instructions for recovering his memories and weapons, but there is a cryptic clue given below that says Valhalla's Eye of the Great Forest Maidgeir Rona's house. Caution, the Heaven Sword is required to satisfy the condition. Kimju thinks hard and tries to remember that the clue is somewhat he has already heard in class. It was the last survival place they went to during the first semester. If it wasn't for that quest, he was just going to run for it after recovering his things. However, it appears that he has to be stealthy for the time being. However, Barch mocks him again by saying that didn't he just create chaos by starting a fight with those delinquents just a while ago. But Kimju has no regret about that fight. Kimju says finally that until and unless he completes the quest, he won't be able to leave very soon. Kim fears that the secret of his reincarnation would also start to unfold. The scene shifts towards the United Kingdom inside the Ventrix mansion. The vice owner of the clan, Adelia Ventric, is perched gracefully on her throne talking to her subject. Adelia asks the man what has actually happened. The man replies that the labyrinth in the outskirts of Reading has been taken care of. Adelia lauds him and inquires whether he has more information for her. The latter tells her that he's thinking of recruiting a few competent men he has found along the way. He continues that from this time's labyrinth, there has been a survivor of the ruined Roberts clan. The lady asks that the person under discussion is pretty strong. The man affirms and says that the two he has found are rank contractors. Adelia confirms that if they are at that level, then they are ready to receive the blessing of the Ventric family. She instructs the man to test their capabilities and then send them her way. Adelia asks if he wants to say anything else. The man hesitantly tells her that he has some report on Rockdale. The lady inquires whether something happened to them that day. The man informs Dahlia that Disara was called into South Korea. Adelia is thoroughly displeased on hearing that name. Disara is supposed to be the black sheep of the Ventric family and the worst delinquent. He's committed many terrible acts by using his family name. At the age of 19, he killed 5 people in England's academy because they started an argument with him. So at the age of 20, he was completely cut off from the Ventric family. He's been living in hiding for many years. Adelia is worried that why Disara is meeting Rockdale. Adelia asks the man to put Disara under strict surveillance for the sake of Rockdale. Adelia instructs him to strictly warn Rockdale as well if he gets caught doing something weird. He'll be removed from the family. The man agrees and takes his leave. Adelia ponders that all of these fools are wielding power that they haven't earned themselves. Such power isn't meant for trash. Adelia says that all that power is for her alone in the end. The scene shifts toward the classroom where the teacher is giving the class lesson about an evildoer. He explains that it is mainly used to describe people that use the constellation's powers for evil purposes. Usually, they operate alone, but sometimes they work for some organizations. Among those organizations, the most notorious one is the One God Group. The teacher goes on and on with the lecture while Kimju is thoroughly bored. He thinks about his body getting stronger and stronger day by day because of those training sessions. However, his body also has a talent for utilizing mana. Although it's not on the level of a genius, it's much better than his body before reincarnation. However, still, he's unable to understand why, no matter how untrained this body was, why it was in a bad condition. When he did Kai sessions on the first day, he was just barely able to finish since he had less mana than a normal person. The body's physique was so bad that with just a bit of shoveling, he already felt like passing out. Kim guesses that something might have happened in the past, but it's no point stressing out at the moment. Out of nowhere, Soyeon passes a note to Kimju that states, "Hey." Kimju is irritated. Later, teacher Lee-gun announces that the following weekend they would be allowed to leave the premises. However, the students that are planning to leave must submit an application separately. Kimju also submits an application for the reason of taking a walk outside the premises. Barch confirms with him and Kimju is about to say something when Soyeon calls him from behind. When Kimju turns to her, she gets so nervous that she starts stuttering. It's like she wants to say something, but she is too hesitant to ask. This irritates Kim to the core. He chides her to speak up quickly as he has to submit something very important. However, she also loses her temper when Kimju calls her a freak. The scene shifts toward the Valaha dormitory where Kimju is sitting in front of his system. He is searching for information about the place that he's going to the next day. He's finding a trading forum where he could sell the treasure he found in the vault. Soon he finds a place called the market. He finds out that after paying an entrance fee, it allows people to trade anything freely and anyone around the world can use it. However, it's seen as a black market due to the evildoers that trade on it. The market was created by a guardian constellation called the Hidden Ruler. Because it is maintained by the guardian regularly, high-ranking people use it openly. Even though the market is illegal, the governments don't crack down on it. For this reason, Kim-ju feels he can easily enter it. All he has to do is to click on the link given in the comments section and create a reservation. Then Kim would be assigned a location within 50 kilometers of his current position. He has to reach there and enter the door, and Viola the market is here. He receives a message from Aaron that she won't be able to take her training the next day as she's going out somewhere. He wishes her a good trip and she sends her some silly emojis to his irritation. Later, Kim-ju sets out for his assigned location, which is set to be inside an old cafe. When he reaches the place, he's taken aback to find the place old and abandoned with cobwebs hanging everywhere. Kim-ju ignores all that and reaches the right spot. He finds a door and enters a place through it. He finds himself in a wide, desolate alley with building around it. However, Kim-ju feels that he has come here before despite this being his first time in the market. Especially the purple sky and the cloudy moon, it's all similar to the night he saw 300 years ago. A strange man summons him and asks whether this is his first time, and Kim-ji remembers the instruction which said that a man in a leather suit will ask him to pay the entrance fee of 200,000 won. Kim-ju pays him the money and now he has only 30,000 won left. However, he's not worried since here he can make more money. The guy then offers to guide him since it's Kim's first time in the market. Kim asks him that he has some jewels to sell that he owns, so where should head to. The man guides him to go to the market in the 3rd district, as Kim-ju doesn't want to auction off his jewels, but rather sell them quickly, so he would find tons of merchants in the 3rd district that buy anything from jewels to weapons, as well as anything anyone could think of. Kim then asks him about the most trustworthy person around, and the man suggests that Morris is the one who's known to have the best prices. He then explains the way to just walk straight ahead, and when he sees the split path, head straight through. The man strongly advises him to wear a mask over here because of the nature of the goods being sold over there. The man graciously lends Kim-ju a mask as a token of thanks. Kim-ju thanks him and heads towards his destination. He reaches there and finds a man wearing a cat mask. Kim-ju refers to him as Morris and tells him that he wants to sell stuff. The man says that if it's jewels and gold then he could process them quickly. Kim-ju hands him a bag, and when Morris examines the accessories, he's shocked to find a ring that is called the artifact from the destruction era. Morris confirms after thorough examination that the stuff Kim-ju brought is an artifact of destruction from all angles. Morris wonders from where actually did he get those artifacts. Kim-ju asks him how much Morris could offer him for those jewels. Morris inquires him from where he got those jewels, and Kim-ju bluntly tells him that he heard that such questions aren't supposed to be asked here. Morris quickly apologizes and says that he got distracted by the glitter of those artifacts. However, he honestly refuses to trade those jewels because he couldn't process them as he doesn't have that much capital to buy them all from Kim-ju. He then advises Kim-ju to visit the auction hall. Kim then inquires that if he put the jewels on auction and how much time would it take to sell them. And Morris replies 2 to 3 weeks, since there are many people who have reserved slots. It'll be a while for the auction hall to open. Kim inquires whether he has to visit the market personally after that. Morris says yes, since he needs to be verified at the time of payment. Kim then inquires how much he would get for those jewels through the auction. Morris shows him the calculated amount, and then Kim asks him how much he's missing. Morris explains that the calculated amount is just an estimate. However, in an auction, it would be a completely different story. Morris says that even if he sold everything he has, he would still be able to bat 3/4 of the artifact's worth. Kim-ju agrees to take 3/4 of the total worth. Morris is surprised because although the artifacts of the destruction era sell at a very high price due to their age, there's another very big reason. It's because of the constellations. The constellations that started to appear at the end of the era weirdly reacted well to those artifacts of that age. Bisu of that a powerless regular human was able to create a contract with those S-ranked constellations. Morris adds that he is known as the Alchemist Zone and is still a contractor. Morris thinks that those artifacts are completely real because of the mana that flows through them, and that is the magic from the destruction era that still lingers on them. Morris is elated because there are a total of 8 artifacts and he was able to get hold of one of them for such a little price. A strange masked man stands in front of Morris. Soon Kim-ju's money issue is solved and he traces his way back to the cafe. Kim-ju is elated that he just took 8 rings from the vault, and just by selling one he received a whopping amount of money. Soon he receives a call from an unknown person, who introduces herself as an instructor at Valhalla. She invites Kim-ju to join her for lunch and asks her to come in front of the training room, and lunch would be her treat. Kim-ju wants to reply, but before that, the caller hangs up the phone. Now Kim-ju is confused about whether he should attend this strange lunch offer or not. Meanwhile, at the market, Morris asks the person about the purpose of his visit. It seems that both know each other very well. The person is introduced as Black Cat, the owner of the market. The owner is concerned because Morris has applied anonymously for an auction for the first time and demands to look at the item for auction purposes. Morris helplessly hands over those items and Black Cat says that his owner, who is a constellation, wants the ring. At Valaha's restaurant, it's instructor Lilia, who has invited Kimju for lunch. While Lilia is devouring some food while Kim is wondering why does Valaha has a fancy place like this. Lilia then offers Kimju to be her assistant, however Kim refuses her offer. However, Lilia advises him not to be hasty in his decisions, as being her assistant would give him many benefits. Kim would get a scholarship and many grants. Also, he would get a chance to write a thesis with Lilia. If a thesis is published, then Kim could write about the 3 types of monster attacks. If that happens, then his name would be listed in the World's Monster Research Association, so glory and wealth would naturally follow. Also, he could go out of the premises twice a week instead of only once a month. However, Kimju still refuses as he doesn't find all the benefits appealing at all. However, his urgent objective right now is getting to the Eye of the Great Forest, and you can only get there during the Grade 1 performance assessment, so even if he's an instructor it would be hard to get in. Lilia doesn't give up and says that if she would give him some information that piques his curiosity, then he could tell her about the monster attacks. Kimju asks her what kind of information, and the latter replies that it's about Arin, who's always sticking around him. She reveals that Arin is about to be disowned by her family. However, Kimju is not all interested in this information as well. However, Lilia insists that he must share some knowledge with her as he still heard the news. Meanwhile, Choi and her elder brother are summoned by their father for a sorting competition to be held 3 weeks after. The one who would win will be awarded special blessing from the family's constellation. The one that would lose would be disowned by the family. Arin's elder brother mocks her to be illegitimate and insults her that how she is not eligible even to belong in such a prestigious family, let alone be the head. Arin's heart breaks and she remembers her mother, who always wanted her to be the head of the family so that she's free from all agonies and pain. And that's how the first part of this Manhwa ends. Well guys, if you like this video and you want a second part, comment below with the word contractors. Also subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell and like the video. But most important, leave a comment. Until the next video.